Hey friend, I'm really glad you're here tonight. Before we begin, take a moment, make sure you've liked this video and subscribed to the channel. It helps more than you know. I also want to know something. Where in the world are you watching from? And what time is it there? Midnight? 3 a.m. Let me know in the comments, I read them all, and it always amazes me how far our little late-night journeys reach. Now let your body settle. Breathe slowly. Because what you're about to hear isn't the medieval history you were taught in school. This is the version they left out of the manuscripts, the version whispered behind tapestries, the kind that never made it into sermons or royal chronicles. You've heard that medieval kings were noble, chivalrous, pious men who ruled by divine right. But that's the cleaned version, the polished one. The truth was always darker, stranger, and far more human. Let's begin in the stillness before dawn, where a castle sits quiet under a sky the color of cold steel. You are not a noble here, you're a servant, a shadow in the corridors. You rise early, as always, before the hearths are stoked or the bells ring. Your feet know the path to the kitchens by heart, past stone walls that remember too much. The air smells of damp earth, tallow, and smoke, not yet risen. You carry a tray of wine to the king's chamber. It's not for breakfast. It's for the girl he brought back last night. She couldn't have been older than 16. She didn't speak your language. She wore silk too fine for this part of the world, and her eyes held the glazed confusion of someone who expected something else. The guards didn't look at her. They didn't have to. They knew the routine. You place the tray quietly and leave before you're seen. You're not supposed to witness anything. But you always do. This king your king fasts during Lent, prays loudly during Mass, and lectures the court on morality. But you know what he does when the torches go out. You've washed the sheets, you've heard the muffled cries. You've seen the bruises hidden beneath jeweled collars. At council, he speaks of virtue. In chambers, he collects girls like relics, foreigners, hostages. Daughters of minor nobles traded like coins. One girl tried to run once. You remember her name? Marguerite. She leapt from the tower into the moat. She lived, but not for long. Her body was found days later, dressed again in silk, mouth stuffed with lavender as if death could be disguised as perfume. No one spoke of it. The king offered a prayer. The priests nodded. Life went on. That's the way of things here. At feasts, the minstrels sing of honor. The banners wave with lions and crosses. But behind those banners, the truth rots like spoiled meat. You've seen the way visiting envoys are treated, wined, dined, then shown the king's collection. Not of art, of people. The girls are lined up, dressed like saints, and asked to dance. They're told it's a compliment, a blessing, to be chosen by a man of such stature. Some believe it. Most do not. You carry linens up the servants' stairwell, past the locked door of the scriptorium where monks copy texts by candlelight. You pause sometimes and read the margins. They write things the public will never see. One passage, scrawled in Latin, said, "He who claims holiness often sins the most when eyes are shut." You've remembered that for years. Today, the castle prepares for a new Arivilla bride. 15 maybe, from Burgundy or somewhere richer. She's to marry the king next month, but she arrives today, pale, shaking, her veil heavier than her cloak. The king greets her like a brother. He smiles too much. You are there when he takes her hand. She flinches. No one notices. You do. That night, you hear him leave his chambers, not to pray, not to read. He walks the hall with silent steps, barefoot. You know where he's going. You close your eyes and pretend to sleep, but the walls carry sound. They always have. The moans, the creaks, the rustle of silk turned inside out. The next morning, the girl does not speak. She eats slowly, her gaze fixed on the window. She won't look at the king. She doesn't need to. She already knows. This is her life now, and no saint will save her. The bishop arrives that afternoon. He blesses the household. He kisses the bride's forehead. He toasts the king's virtue. His cup is filled with wine from the same vineyard the king stole last summer by raising a monastery and accusing its monks of heresy. The bishop knows, but he drinks anyway. In the court, everyone does. The queen, the old Onedid 2 winters ago. Fever, they said. But you saw the dark bruises on her neck. You saw the apothecary leave with blood on his sleeves. She was quiet, always. She prayed, she sang, she never bore a son. And then she died. Now they barely speak her name. The new girl is meant to replace her. But ghosts don't like being forgotten. At night, the old queen walks the garden paths. Or so the servants say. They hear her sin, jing, low, sad, in a language the new bride doesn't know. You believe it, because the king never enters the garden anymore. He says the roses have thorns, but roses always have. He just fears what waits among them. You scrub the floor of the hall where the hunt trophies hang. Antlers, skulls. Once, a woman's corset. Stained. Hung like a joke. The knights laughed. One still wears the girl's ring on a chain around his neck. She wasn't a noble, just a baker's daughter. Just curious. Just gone. The knights drink often. They talk louder than they should. They speak of the king's tastes. The game he plays with his pages. The masks he asks them to wear. They think it's funny. They think it's normal. They think it's what power looks like. And maybe it is. One page tried to escape last year. He was found in the woods, barefoot, babbling. His tongue had been cut. They said wolves did it. You know better. Everyone does. But no one says it. Not if they want to keep theirs. In the chapel, the stained glass glows with stories of saints and miracles. But you see the priest's hand linger on the choir boy's shoulder. You see the offerings go missing. You see how silence is bought. The king once confessed aloud that he felt no guilt. God made me king, he said. Therefore, what I desire must be holy. And everyone clapped. Because the truth is, no one wants a righteous king. Righteousness is messy. It asks questions. But a sinful king is predictable. He trades his soul for obedience, and the court is comfortable in his shadow. You once asked a stable hand why no one stops him. He said, because we fear losing what little we have more than we fear his hunger. You understood. But it didn't help you sleep. That night, the castle is silent. Too silent. You wake before the bells. You hear footsteps. Fast. Wrong. You slip into the corridor. A girl runs past. Barefoot, bleeding. You don't stop her, you just watch. And when the guards find you, they don't ask questions. They just say, you saw nothing. And you nod. Because you did. And you always will. Later, the king holds a feast. He wears red. The bride wears white. They dance. She does not cry. She learned quickly. You watch from the shadows. Your hands stained with wine, with wax, with memory. The guests laugh, the minstrels play, and the king smiles. But you know what's beneath that crown. You've seen it, you've carried it, and now you carry the story too. Not in words, not out loud, but in every step, every glance, every moment you pretend not to see. That is how history works here. In silence, in shame, in things too broken to name, but not too broken to remember. And now you do, now you know. Rest easy, friend. You've seen the other side of the throne. Sleep well. We'll continue soon. The torchlight flickers down the corridor, casting warped shadows on the stone like ghosts rehearsing old betrayals. The air smells of iron and old wax, the kind that clings to tapestries even after they've been beaten clean. The castle is quiet again, not with peace, but with the taut silence of secrets freshly buried. It's been days since the wedding feast. The bride has not spoken in public, not once. Not at prayer, not at supper, not even when her gown caught fire from a spilled candle and she slapped it out with a hand she did not scream about. You saw her afterward, bandaging the blistered palm herself with linen stolen from a servant's bundle. The king laughed when it happened. Said the fire liked her. No one else laughed, but they smiled anyway. That's what everyone does in this place. Smile, nod, pretend the teeth aren't clenched behind the lips. The bishop has returned to his abbey, leaving behind a blessing and 3 empty wine barrels. The queen, if anyone dares to call her that, now remains locked in her apartments, resting. They say she is unwell, but you saw the bruises when she bathed, saw the maid discard her torn chemise behind the laundry kiln. The king calls it passion. You've seen passion. This isn't that. This is power. And power in a king is never just governance or glory. It seeps into his bedchambers, curls into his voice, spreads like fever through the veins of those beneath him. You've been summoned to the lower library today. Not to read, no, one asks you to read, but to carry scrolls for the master archivist. He's old, bent like a quill, and his hands shake as he stacks manuscripts. He tells you things, always in riddles. The kings of old, he murmurs, had closets larger than their courts. You think today's rulers are wicked? You should see the ones who wore crowns with thorns on the inside. You ask what he means. He doesn't answer. Instead, he hands you a scroll wrapped in red ribbon. Don't open it, he says, not unless you want to see what happened to the king's cousin. You carry it anyway, and you don't open it. But the ribbon stains your fingers. You can't wash it off. Upstairs, the king is meeting with foreign envoys. You hear the trumpets. You hear the applause. Later, you'll hear the crying. Because that's the cycle. Gold exchanged, hands kissed, then someone disappears. Usually a girl, sometimes a boy. The foreign guest will leave with gifts for his coin, a holy relic that might be real. The king will keep the softest one behind. Always does. You pass through the gallery of ancestors, portraits so faded their eyes barely watch anymore. But you feel them. They knew. They see. The third king from the left once had his wife sewn into a wall for looking too long at a night. The fifth was said to bathe in goat's blood for virility. The seventh, your king's grandfather, held masked feasts where guests arrived clothed and left without skin. The portraits smile. They always smile. You descend to the cellar where the discarded furniture is stored, old thrones, cracked mirrors, a child's cradle no one speaks about. Dust lies thick like forgetting. But even here, the castle breathes. You swear you hear music sometimes. Not from above, but from the stones themselves, humming the old hymns of violence and appetite. You're called to the gardens later, told to trim the vines near the broken fountain, the one the old queen loved. Her statue still stands near it, though the face has been chipped away. Some say the king did it himself, in one of his fits. Others say she did it just before she died. There's something poetic about it, either way. You kneel beside the basin, scraping away ivy, and find something beneath the moss. A locket. Small, silver. Inside, a curl of hair. Not gold, not red, just brown. Ordinary. Real. The clasp is broken. You hide it in your sleeve. When you return to the servants' hall, the steward tells you to wash before you enter. You do. But the moss smell clings. The steward wrinkles his nose. You've been in the dead queen's garden, haven't you? He asks. You nod. He frowns. Be careful, he says. That place remembers. That night, the king orders a mask. He wants merriment, he says. Wants to see joy. You help dress the pages in feathers and bells. You paint the masks. One boy cries as you tie his ribbon too tight. You don't loosen it. He'll be noticed if he's late. The king selects his dancers one by one. The music swells. The fire roars. And in the middle of it all, the new queen sits silent, maskless, watching, not blinking, as if she's memorizing every face, every cruel touch, every laugh that echoes too loud. The king invites her to dance. She stands, takes his hand, and in that moment, you see it. Her fingers dig just slightly into his palm. He winces. She smiles, just for a breath. Then it's gone. The rest of the night passes in music and red wine. One of the girls faints. No one notices. You carry her to the stables. She wakes with a start and says nothing. You leave her there. It's better. In the morning, you're ordered to polish the chapel floor. The bishop is visiting again. This time, with parchment and seal. A new decree. The king has declared a festival for fertility, a week of indulgence. To please the gods, he says. But you know what he really wants. An excuse, a cover, a ritual. He always liked rituals, especially the old ones. The ones they don't speak of in church. You've seen the symbols carved into his bedposts, not Christian ones, older, sharper. When you clean them, your hands itch for hours. One page whispered once that the king sleeps with a book beneath his pillow, bound in flesh. You laughed, until you saw the binding, until you saw the name scratched into the edge. Not his name, not even a real name, just a word, hunger. That night, thunder rolls in. The castle shutters rattle. The new queen walks the hall alone. You see her. She does not stop when you bow. Her veil is off. Her eyes are hard. She holds something in her hand. A small blade? A letter opener? You don't know. You don't ask. She disappears into the old queen's rooms. The door closes behind her. The thunder cracks again, and for a moment, you swear you hear a laugh. Not hers, not his, someone else's. From the portrait gallery. From the walls. You sleep poorly that night. Your dreams are strange. Masks with no eyes. Feasts with no food. A crown that bleeds. When you wake, your fingers still smell of moss. You reach into your sleeve and find the locket. Still there. Still closed. But the hair is missing. You tell no one. You say nothing. You return to work. Because that's what you do. You carry the weight. Not in armor, not in power, in silence, in memory, in the things no one dares to speak. This is how kingdoms survive, not through glory, through forgetting, through the burying of sins beneath stone and song. But stones remember, and so do you. Sleep now. We'll go deeper soon. The festival begins with bells, not the gentle toll of Sunday prayer, but the loud, jarring clang of bronze striking air like a blade. It echoes through the halls, across the bailey, into the kitchens where servants flinch and drop what they're holding, as if the sound means nay, not celebration. In a way, it does. The king's decree was clear. 7 days of fertility rites to honor the harvest and please the heavens, but everyone knows what it's really for. The wine cellars are opened. The priests bring out their oldest relics. The courtiers dress in layered silks and fox masks and chant hymns too ancient to have names. The new queen is seen only once. She stands on the balcony above the great hall, veiled again, her face unreadable. The wind lifts her sleeve, and it catches for a moment on the broken stone where the old gargoyle used to sit before it crumbled last year in the storm. She doesn't speak. She watches. She does not join the dance. You are told to prepare the lower cloister for the final night of the rites, the sacred closing. The stones there are older than the castle itself, older than the church, older even than the language of the current court. You scrub the altar clean and notice something carved beneath the candle plate 5 lines that radiate outward from a single point. They're faint but deliberate. You trace them with your thumb, and for a second, your vision blurs. The air grows heavy. You step back. A page calls your name. You turn. The spell breaks. That night, the feast begins with meat-spiced boar, honeyed pheasant, lamb glazed so heavily it gleams like gold. The king sits at the center, surrounded by sycophants and guests who pretend not to see the bruises on the dancers or the sweat on the cupbearer's neck. The jester tells stories, some funny, most not. But everyone laughs. That's the rule. Laugh or be noticed. And being noticed is dangerous. The queen enters halfway through. Her gown is white, embroidered with vines. Her hands are bare. Her eyes are lined in charcoal. She walks with the confidence of someone who has nothing left to fear. The king beckons her. She stops, just for a second, then moves forward. A silence ripples through the hall. Not fear. Anticipation. She sits, says nothing, eats nothing. The king feeds her a grape. She takes it. But you see the way her jaw tightens, the way her hand closes into a fist beneath the table. You are sent to the kitchens. You carry wine. You pass the musician who plays the lute with trembling fingers. You pass the knight who once wore the baker's daughter's ring. It's gone now, replaced by a new token. A lock of hair, curled, red, fresh. You deliver the wine. The steward nods without looking. You hear them whispering behind the pillars. The nobles, talking about the king's new habit, the masks, the salt baths. The chamber in the west wing no longer entered by day. One of them says he heard a girl screaming from inside. Another says she laughed. They argue over which is worse. Later, you are called to that wing. You don't ask why. You bring clean linens. You bring scented oil. You bring silence. The room is dim, lit only by a single lantern hanging from a chain. It swings gently, though there is no wind. The bed is untouched. The floor, damp. A single shoe lies near the fire, small, velvet. The king sits in the corner, dressed not in his robe but in a commoner's tunic. His eyes are bloodshot, his hands shake. He does not speak to you. He points to the shoe. You pick it up. He says, "Burn it." You nod. You do not ask. You leave. In the furnace, the velvet shrivels like skin. The room smells like meat. You do not gag. You've learned how not to. In the morning, the king announces he will fast until the moon wanes. He says it is a holy vow. The queen is seen again, this time in the chapel, kneeling not at the altar but facing the wall. Her lips move, but no sound comes. A priest approaches. She does not move. He turns away. That night, the old gardener dies. He was 90, maybe more. They say he whispered something before the end. The roots are fed with blood. No one questions it. The trees in the orchard bloom too early. The apples are red as hearts. You're sent to pick them. One falls before you touch it. It rolls toward the old well. You follow. You hear something deep inside, breathing, maybe water, maybe not. You don't look. You don't want to know. The next morning, a girl disappears. The one with the white ribbon. She danced for the king at the feast. She laughed too loud. Now she's gone. The steward says she went home, but she had no home. Only a cot in the laundry loft. You saw her blanket still warm. You saw the coin left on her pillow. The queen doesn't mention her, but her eyes linger on the king's cup longer than before. At the next feast, she wears the girl's ribbon. Not in her hair, but around her wrist. No one comments. No one dares. You walk the halls now with quieter steps. The guards avoid your eyes. The paintings seem darker. You could swear the faces change when you aren't looking. One tapestry in particular of St. Catherine at the Wheelknow has red thread where there used to be gold. You touch it. Your finger bleeds. No one believes you. The needle is gone. The threads whisper. You stop sleeping. You dream of walls that breathe, of floors that open like mouths, of a crown made of bone. The steward finds you sleepwalking. He tells you to pray. You do. You kneel in the chapel and offer your silence. The priest says nothing, just leaves a candle burning. The wax drips faster than it should. You watch it puddle, shape itself. A circle, a crown, a door. The festival ends. The fields flood. The queen does not leave her rooms. The king walks barefoot in the garden. He talks to the statue of the old queen. He calls her name, wrongly. She never answered to that. You know. You were there. You lit the fire the night she died. You cleaned the basin. You found the note she left. Just one word. Enough. You burned it. Not by order, by instinct. Because some truths are too sharp, even for stone. You carry the weight. Still. Always. And tonight, you sleep beneath that weight. Let it press into you. Let it settle. We'll go deeper still. But for now, close your eyes. You've earned the dark. The wind shifts across the outer wall, carrying with it the scent of damp stone and horses left too long in the stables. A storm is coming, but the sky remains indifferent pale, gray, thin, stretched like old parchment. The banners above the tower hang limp, their colors dulled by soot and memory. You wake early, not because you must, but because your dreams have turned cruel. Again. You dreamt of the queen. Not the new one, Not yet, but the old one, the first one who died quiet, with prayers in her mouth and bruises around her throat that no one would name. In the dream, she stood in the garden, humming the same melody you once heard her sing on a spring morning before her smile disappeared. She looked at you. She knew you saw. She said nothing, just turned and vanished into the ivy. Now you stand in the corridor, your breath steaming slightly in the cold. The castle is quieter than usual. The feast has ended. The rituals are complete. The king has declared a day of silence. He says it is for reflection, for honoring the old gods. But everyone knows he has gone to the locked wing, the west side, the wing with the shuttered windows and the tower that rises half a floor higher than the others. No one is allowed up there, no servants, no guards. Only a girl is sent once each week. Always a different one. Always silent afterward. You saw the last one leave yesterday morning. She was barefoot, her gown torn, her hands covered in wax. The steward said she was cleaning the candelabras, but her fingers were burned, and she flinched when the priest tried to bless her. Today, you've been tasked with collecting the ledger books from the lower scriptorium. It's colder there, beneath the chapel, where the monks work with bent spines and swollen knuckles. The air smells of mold and ink. They don't speak much. One of them, Brother Yvain, gives you a page that has no writing on it, just an imprint, as if someone pressed words into it with their breath. He says, "Don't read it in sunlight." You nod. You tuck it into your sleeve. The page feels heavier than parchment. Upstairs, the queen is seen again, briefly, in the corridor by the chapel. She moves slowly, her veil shorter now, her hair braided with dried violets. She speaks to no one, but the hounds follow her, 3 of them, silent, eyes watching everything. Even the guards step aside. You carry the ledgers past her. She does not look at you, but you feel her glance, like a thread catching on your ribs. You bow. She disappears around the corner, the scent of crushed petals and iron lingering behind her. That evening, a rider arrives at the gate. Alone, cloaked in mud and blood, he demands to see the king. Says he bears a gift from the south. They let him in. You watch from the kitchen window. His horse is gaunt, his sword rusted, but his eyes are too clear. He is not a messenger. He is something else. The steward doesn't like him. You hear him whisper it to the captain of the guard. "Not this one," he says. He's too quiet. The rider dines with the king that night. The queen does not attend. The banquet is smaller. No music. Only fire and meat and whispers. You serve bread. The rider does not eat. He watches the king. The king drinks heavily. He laughs too loudly. You hear the word contract. You hear obedience. You hear already paid. The rider nods, says only, "Then it begins." You do not sleep well. Again, the castle creaks in the wind. Somewhere, a shutter bangs open and closed. You dream of wolves in masks, of a hand reaching from the hearth, of a child with no mouth. In the morning, the rider is gone. His horse left behind, still tethered, bleeding at the hoof. The stable boy refuses to go near it, says its eyes glow. The steward says nonsense, but he doesn't look either. You are summoned by the queen's maid. "A message," she says, "for you." Folded parchment sealed with thread, not wax. You open it. No words. Only a sprig of rosemary. Dried, crushed between the folds. You burn it. Not from fear, from instinct. That day, you see the king only once. In the orchard. Alone. Kneeling by the roots of the apple trees. Digging. With his hands. His crown is gone, his cloak stained. When he rises, he carries something wrapped in linen. You turn away before you see what it is. The queen does not appear at dinner. Again, the bishop arrives with a retinue of monks. He brings relics, he blesses the tower, he refuses to stay the night. You understand why. That evening, a girl screams, high, brief, then silence. You're not sure where it came from. The guards don't move. The steward lights a candle. You sit in the kitchen with your hands in your lap, your fingers pressing a pattern into your skin. Circles, lines, stars, you don't know why. It helps. A servant girl finds an old book in the laundry room. It's wrapped in oilcloth. She brings it to you, asks if you can read it. You say no. You take it anyway. The pages are thick, hand-inked. The writing isn't Latin. It isn't anything you know. But the illustrations, you recognize something? A crown, a knife, a door, a woman with no eyes, a man with too many. You hide it under your cot. You dream of it, of pages turning without hands, of voices chanting, of fire that doesn't burn. When you wake, the room smells of ash, but nothing has burned. The queen calls for you, personally. She sits by the hearth, her hair unbound, her feet bare. She asks for water. You fetch it. She doesn't drink. She says, "The king is breaking." You don't speak. She continues, "They will blame me." You nod. You don't know what else to do. She stands, walks to the window, points to the orchard. That tree, the middle one, it is hollow. You nod again. It has a name inside it, she says. Not mine, not his, but someone's. She turns. Her eyes are empty, not sad, not angry, just done. She dismisses you. You leave. You go to the orchard. You find the tree. You place your hand on it. It pulses. You step back. That night, you dream of the king screaming, but not in fear, in hunger, and the queen walks away from him, down the corridor, through the chapel, through the wall. You wake with your hands clenched, dirt beneath your nails, blood on your knuckles. You don't know where you've been. The sun has not yet risen, but the bells toll anyway. Something has happened. You dress. You walk. The great hall is filled with smoke. The king is on the floor, alive, laughing. His eyes are black with wine, or something worse. The steward says he fell. The bishop is silent. The queen is gone, her chambers empty, the tower door unlocked, her gown folded neatly on the bed. You are not surprised. You feel only stillness, like the pause before a scream, or a storm, or a kingdom collapsing in on itself. The feast is canceled. The guards search the woods. The dogs refuse to track. You are sent back to your quarters, but you do not rest. You sit by the window, watch the orchard, wait for the candle in the hollow tree to flicker. You know it will. And when it does, you will go. You will carry the truth, like ash, like blood, like memory. Close your eyes. Let the dark settle. There is more to come. And you are not done yet. The candle in the hollow tree flickers just after midnight. You see it from your window, the glow faint but unmistakable, like a second moon trapped beneath bark and moss. No one else is awake. The castle sleeps uneasily, weighted with too many secrets pressed into its stones. You do not bring a lantern. You do not wear shoes. The grass is cold beneath your feet, but it helps you stay quiet. The wind has calmed, and the orchard no longer rustles like whispering mouths. You reach the middle tree, the one the queen named. The bark is cracked, rough as dried bone. The hollow yawns open like a mouth. Inside, the candle is almost gone. Beneath it, a folded piece of cloth. You lift it slowly, aware of how the silence thickens around you. It's not a letter, not even paper, just a scrap of linen, stained with something that might be wine or might be blood. Stitched into its center is a name. Not hers, not his, yours. You do not flinch, not now, not after everything. You tuck the cloth into your tunic and turn back toward the castle. But it's not the same now. The towers loom differently, their angles wrong, their windows black like open wounds. For a moment, you think you see someone standing at the top of the east, spire bareheaded, arms wide, mouth open, but when you look again, it's only a bird. The next morning, the king calls council. Not in the hall, but in the crypt. He says the dead must hear. You carry torches down the winding stairs, the air thick with mildew and forgotten incense. The nobles arrive slowly, each draped in black, though no funeral has been announced. The bishop stands behind the king, his face pale, his fingers twitching beneath his sleeves. The king speaks of loyalty, of decay, of how rot must be cut from the flesh of the realm. He says the queen was a traitor, that she consorted with spirits, that she whispered to the stones, that she was not what she seemed. No one speaks, no one contradicts him, but you feel it ripple through the room like smoke. Disbelief, confusion, fear. The king says she vanished in the night, that her soul will be judged, that he has sealed her chambers. But you know better. You've seen the blood smeared on the inside of her door. You've seen the letter she left behind, hidden in the hem of her gown, unread by the scribes because it was written in a language older than Latin, older than even the runes etched into the oldest parts of the castle wall. You saw her lips move as she passed you in the corridor 3 nights ago. The word she said was not a farewell. It was a warning. After the council, the guards double their posts. The hounds are restless. The steward no longer eats. The kitchens are silent. You find yourself drifting toward the queen's rooms again. The corridor is empty, the door locked. But you know the side passage, the one behind the wall tapestries that leads through the linen closet and into the outer chamber. You slip through. The room smells of salt and rosewater, faint now, like the last note of a song. Her mirror is covered with cloth, her books removed, but her slippers remain beneath the bed, worn and quiet. On the wall, the tapestry has changed. It used to show a garden. Now it shows a cliff and a figure falling. You step closer. The stitching is fresh, the thread blood red. You don't touch it. You leave the room with your breath held. That night, the king announces a new marriage. A foreign princess already on her way. Young, devout, obedient. The court nods. The bishop smiles. But the air tastes sour. You feel the castle resisting, the walls vibrating faintly, the floors groaning in protest. The old queen, what little remains of her does not approve. You dream again, of footsteps in your room, of whispering from the hearth, of your name written on every tile. When you wake, your pillow is damp with seawater. You've never seen the sea. The rider returns. The one from the south, he brings no message, only a box. It's sealed with wax and iron. The king takes it into the tower. No one sees what's inside. But after that night, the birds stop singing. The orchard begins to wither. One of the hounds goes mad and throws itself into the well. The cook finds it the next morning. They say it slipped, but you know the truth. That week, 3 girls vanish. The steward says they ran. The guards say nothing. You find a shoe, a braid of hair, a smear of blood on the stairwell to the west wing. The king does not ask about them. He does not mention their names. You find the priest crying in the chapel. He says he hears voices in the statues, that they ask for the queen, that they say her name is written in the flame. He asks you if you believe. You say nothing. What is there left to believe in? The new princess arrives, pale, thin, with eyes too large for her face. She does not speak your language. She wears a veil so long it drags behind her like a shadow. The king smiles when he sees her, but his hands shake when he lifts hers. She does not flinch. She only stares at him, at you, through you. The wedding is to be held on the last night of the harvest. The same date the old queen disappeared. The same date the orchard tree first bled sap so dark it stained the stone. You are assigned to clean the chapel. The walls are damp, the floor cracked, the altar cloth ripped. You find the priest's journal beneath the pulpit. You shouldn't read it. You do. It speaks of dreams, of a crown made of hands, of a queen with no face, of blood that seeps upward from the earth. He says he saw her at the window, smiling, that she does not walk, she drifts. You close the book. You do not return it. That night, the princess is not seen. The king rages. The guards search. You know where she is. You go to the orchard. The tree is hollow again. The candle gone. Inside, a mirror. Small, cracked, and on its surface, your name, your reflection. Your mouth moving, though you make no sound. You run, you fall, you dream. And when you wake, you're beneath the queen's tapestry. The one that changed. The one with the cliff. The figure is no longer falling. It stands now, watching, holding something in its hand. A crown? No, not quite. Something made of branches, of hair, of teeth. You rise. You do not feel fear anymore, only inevitability. You go to the tower. The guards do not stop you. The door opens before you touch it. Inside, the king is alone, weeping. The box is open. Inside it, nothing. Only a mirror. Only fire. Only her voice. And yours. You turn. You leave. You do not look back. The kingdom will remember. The stone will carry it. You've seen what must come. And it has already begun. Rest now. Before the final vows are spoken, the veil lifts soon, and you will need all your strength. The bells toll at dawn, but not for celebration. Their sound is wrong off beat, fractured, each chime slightly out of sync with the next, as if the tower itself were trying to speak through broken teeth. No one gathers in the courtyard. No announcements are made. Yet everyone knows. The king has locked himself in the tower. Again. The princess has not left her chambers in 3 days. Again. The priest has gone missing. Again. You wake with a name on your lips, not your own. Not hers. Something ancient. Something you do not recognize, but feels like it's always been lodged beneath your ribs. You do not say it aloud. You rise slowly. The floor is colder than usual. The fire in the great hearth never lit last night. The ashes in the brazier are untouched. The steward is gone. The guards don't speak. The kitchen is empty. You step into the corridor and realize you are the only one breathing. The air is stale. The castle is holding its breath. You move like a shadow, your feet memorizing the cracks in the stone. You find the west wing sealed with wax and thorns. Someone has scrawled runes on the door in soot. You do not touch it. You do not need to. The sound behind it is enough a scraping, a slow shuffle, a sigh that doesn't belong to lungs. The tapestry outside the queen's former room has changed again. It no longer shows a cliff. It shows a throne. Empty, surrounded by fire. You step closer. In the weave of the flames, you see faces. Dozens, all familiar. All people who have vanished from this place as servants. Girls, the priest, the steward, the dog. Even the bishop, though you never saw him leave. One of the faces looks like yours, but older. Eyes closed, mouth open, you step away. The castle shifts beneath your feet. Stones groan. Wood cracks. You are called to the chapel. Not by word, not by voice, just a knowing. You go. The door is open. The pews are empty. The candles are unlit. At the altar stands the princess, alone. Her veil is gone, her hair unbound. She holds a mirror in one hand, a branch in the other. Not just a branch, a scepter of thorns, woven with strands of something too dark to be thread. She turns. Her eyes are hollow, not dead, not empty, just vast. Like windows to somewhere far colder than any place you've ever known. She says your name. Not the one you answer to now, the old one, the true one, the one you forgot. And suddenly you remember. The garden, the tree, the voice behind the voice. You kneel without knowing why. She speaks. And though you hear nothing, the meaning cuts into your thoughts like glass. It is time. You nod. You rise. Together you walk to the tower. The guards are gone. The doors are open. The stairwell stretches upward like a wound carved into the sky. You climb. Each step echoes like the beat of a forgotten drum. At the top, the king waits. Crownless, sleepless, his hands tremble. His mouth moves. He tries to speak, but the words fall like ash. The princess lifts the mirror. He sees himself. He falls, not like a man, like a shadow fleeing its source. His body remains. But the thing that wore it leaves. The wind howls. The tower groans. And then there is silence. She steps past him, places the mirror on the sill. It reflects nothing. Not sky, not stone, just depth. You take the crown. It is colder than bone, lighter than air. You do not place it on her head. She does not need it. She walks away, down the stairs, into the orchard. The tree burns. The sap hisses. The candle relights. The castle breathes. Slowly, walls realign. The air warms. The bells toll once more, this time in rhythm. People emerge from rooms they forgot they entered. Servants return. Guards blink, unsure of where they've been. No one remembers the priest. No one asks about the king. His chair in the hall is empty. Dust gathers. No new king is named. The princess becomes queen. But she holds no court. She speaks to no ambassadors. She does not wear jewels. She walks the gardens, tends the roots, listens to the stone. You remain. You serve. You clean the blood that still seeps sometimes from the cracks no one else sees. You keep the candles burning. You fold the gowns that no one wears. You sweep the ashes of a crown that no longer fits anyone alive. At night, you sit by the window and watch the stars turn. They move differently now, slower, closer, as if the sky itself is leaning in. You understand. You hear the hum beneath the soil. You dream less of falling and more of becoming. The mirror still waits in the tower, covered, silent. But if you ever lift the cloth, you know what you'll see. Not your face, not hers, but everything, all at once. Until then, you wait. You tend. You carry the memory forward. Because someone must. Sleep now. The story has only begun. The morning returns, but it does not feel like morning. The sky is pale, but unmoving. A flat smear of ash stretched across the horizon. The birds do not sing. The hounds do not stir. The air is thick and heavy as wool soaked in wine. You move through the corridor and every footstep sounds wrong, muted, too soft, as though the stones themselves are reluctant to acknowledge your passing. The castle is still standing, but it is not the same. The king is no longer spoken of. His name has been omitted from the daily prayers, removed from the scrolls, painted over in the great hall's tapestry like a mistake too old to erase, but too dangerous to remember. The queen remains, and yet she does not rule. She walks the halls with bare feet and dry palms, her hair loose and her eyes unfocused. She does not hold court. She does not speak commands, and yet everyone listens. The steward returns, pale and thinner, his hands always shaking, his eyes always wet. He says nothing of where he went. He bows more often now. His voice never rises above a whisper. The bishop does not return. A new priest comes from the lowlands. Young, nervous, full of joy at the appointment. He asks where the last one went. No one answers. He tries to sing in the chapel. The sound dies on his tongue. The statues do not approve of him. He begins to drink. By the third night, he no longer speaks to anyone. The queen walks past him without looking. He flinches. You are tasked with cleaning the old king's study. The door is locked, but the key is warm in your hand when the steward gives it to you. He does not ask what you find. The room smells like dust and sulfur. The desk is covered in parchment, but not letter sketches of things not of this world. A doorway within a mirror. A crown with too many points. A mouth with no lips but still smiling. The ink bleeds through the paper. The chair creaks when you touch it. You do not sit. The fireplace is cold, though the stones around it are blackened as if burned without flame. You find a box under the bed. Inside, bones, small and clean, wrapped in royal blue cloth. You do not ask whose. You do not show the steward. You place the box back where it was. The tower where the king vanished is sealed now, not with iron, but with salt. Lines drawn across the doorway, burned into the frame, scratched into the stone. The guards avoid it. The queen never approaches it. You do. You do not open the door. You only listen. The mirror is still there. You feel it, calling sometimes, singing, not in voice, but in pulse. It waits. The orchard has changed. The trees bend toward the center. The middle tree still bears fruit, though no one picks it. The apples fall and disappear. No one sees where. You once saw a fox approach. It sniffed the roots. It screamed. It left with blind eyes. You have not entered the orchard since. The castle hosts a wedding, not the queen's, one of the nobles from the far estates. They insist on tradition. They ask for the blessing of the crown. The queen attends but does not speak. She brings no gift. She places a single feather on the table and leaves. The bride weeps that night. The groom is not seen again. They say he left in the night. The feather remains, pinned above the bedpost, untouched. You walk the halls in silence. The other servants have begun to forget things' names, directions, how long they've been here. One girl cannot recall her own voice. Another stares at her reflection and weeps without sound. The steward leaves food outside their doors. He never enters. The queen stands at the parapet every evening now, watching the sun set without blinking. You stand beside her once. She turns and hands you a comb, not gold, not carved, just wood, old, splintered. Give it to the well, she says, before the moon is full. You obey. You drop the comb into the water just as the moon rises behind the clouds. You hear it crack in half as it sinks. The next morning, the water in the well is red. No one drinks it. No one speaks of it. A traveler arrives at the gate, says he is a scholar, says he has come to study the archives, says he has permission. The steward lets him in. You know something is wrong. His eyes are too dry, his smile too wide. He walks the halls with purpose. He does not ask questions, he does not take notes, he lingers near the tower. The queen sees him. She does not greet him, she says only one word: unbind. He laughs. The next day, the tower door is ajar. The salt line broken. The mirror gone. The scholar is not found. In his room, you find only a chair, still warm. You seal the door. The queen does not ask what happened. She walks to the orchard that night. She does not return until morning. Her gown is torn. Her eyes are darker. She sleeps for 3 days. No one disturbs her. The steward begins writing a new ledger. You are not in it. None of the servants are. Only symbols. Only times. Only nights. You recognize one of the symbols from the king's sketches, the mouth. It is drawn beside the next moon cycle. You do not ask. You prepare. The castle breathes slower now. Its walls shift more often. The hearths flicker without fire. Shadows linger longer than they should. You sweep. You serve. You listen. The queen wakes. She walks to the chapel. She lights a single candle. She sings. Her voice is wrong, but beautiful. The priest weeps. He leaves that night. The castle does not replace him. The queen eats alone. Her meals are untouched. You clean her plate. The wine is always full. She never drinks. The steward coughs blood. He hides it. You do not tell. The guards begin to vanish. One by one, their swords left behind, their armor empty. The queen does not ask. She walks the orchard each evening now. The middle tree has grown taller. Its branches curl inward. It no longer bears fruit. It bears light, faint, violet, cold. You do not approach it. The castle does not sleep. You no longer dream, only remember. The mirror is not gone, it waits. The queen begins to hum again, a lullaby no one recognizes. It curls through the halls like fog. The steward places a candle in every window. The wind does not blow. The sky holds still. The moon rises, too large, too low, too red. The ledger is full. The ink still wet. The queen stands at the gate. She wears no crown, only a thorn woven into her braid. She opens the gate, and what waits outside enters. Not with sound, not with storm, but with knowing. The castle breathes one last time, and then silence. And then nothing, and then you, alone, watching, remembering, becoming. Rest now, but not too deeply. The mirror is still open, and it remembers your name. The silence that follows is not absence, but density, thick and pressing, the kind that wraps itself around bone and thought until even the idea of sound feels dangerous. The castle does not creak. The wind does not move. The tapestries hang without sway. Something has shifted not abruptly, but completely, as though the fabric of the place has folded itself inside out, revealing not something new, but something that was always underneath. You wake, but you are not sure when you fell asleep. The cot is unfamiliar. Your clothes have been changed. There is no light in the room, but you can see. There are no walls, but you feel enclosed. The air smells of damp wood, rosewater, and stone too old to speak. You try to move, but your limbs are reluctant, as if they have been soaked in memory. You sit slowly. There is no sound, and still your ears ring, as if they have been filled with a voice too vast to forget. The door is open. You step into the corridor, but it is not the corridor you remember. The stones are smooth, unbroken, but they pulse beneath your feet. The walls are covered in script paint, endless lines of symbols carved into plaster, then polished to a sheen so subtle they appear only when you move past them. You walk. You do not know where. The hallway turns. It always does. You pass a window. Outside, the sky is not sky. It is mirror, vast, curved, reflecting the castle from above as if it were held in the mouth of a god who has not blinked in 1,000 years. You do not look again. The courtyard is empty. The well is gone. In its place, a circle of chairs, each made of the same dark wood, each carved with a single name. One is yours. The others you do not know, but you will. You continue toward the great hall. The door is open. Inside, the tapestries hang with new scenes known familiar. A figure in a crimson gown walking into flame. A king without a face offering a crown to a tree. A child with no shadow pulling stars from a broken bowl. You do not look too long. The throne is still there, but it is empty, not unoccupied. Empty, as though it was never meant to hold anything living. The queen stands near the window. Her back is to you. She speaks, not aloud, not in words, but you hear her. You understand. The mirror is not broken. It is open. It cannot be closed. Not now. Not since the name was spoken, not since the root was watered. She turns. Her face is not changed, but it is not the face of a woman. It is not the face of a queen. It is the face of a thing that knows all of your dreams and none of your defenses. She blinks. The world shudders. You fall to your knees. Not in reverence, in instinct, in recognition. You know her now, not as a woman, not as royalty, but as echo, as wound, as answer. She says nothing more. She walks from the hall and the shadows follow her. You remain. You cannot move. The throne breathes behind you. You do not turn. The walls begin to hum, faint, low, like a song sung under the breath of the earth. You rise slowly. Your hands tremble. The ledger lies open on the table. The ink is still wet. The last page is blank, but you know what it will say. You leave the hall. You walk toward the orchard. It no longer smells of fruit. The middle tree is split now, hollowed entirely. Its bark peeled back to reveal a core of glass. Inside it, the mirror, returned, lit from within. The queen stands beside it. Her hands are raised. You do not see her touch it, but the surface shimmers. Something shifts. You feel your heart slow. She turns to you. Choose, she says. You do not understand. She gestures to the tree, to the mirror, to the orchard, to the castle. Stay, she says, or carry. It is the same word. It is not a question. It is not a command. You close your eyes. You see the faces of those who vanished. You hear the songs sung long ago. You smell the blood beneath the stones. You feel the weight of memory. You open your eyes. You step forward. The mirror accepts you, not your body, just your name, just your reflection. You feel it leave you like breath. You do not become hollow. You become witness. The queen nods. She walks past you. Her footsteps do not make sound. She does not look back. The orchard closes. The castle resets. The walls forget. The servants reappear. The steward stirs from sleep and says nothing. The priest is found beneath the chapel stairs, curled like a child, singing a song no one taught him. The guards line up at the gate. The sun rises. The king's name is spoken again, but it belongs to someone else now. A boy with dark eyes and a laugh too loud. He wears no crown, but the throne sighs when he walks past. You are not mentioned. Your room is sealed. The ledger has no space. But sometimes, when the fire burns too low and the wind passes through the courtyard at just the right angle, the steward hears your steps. The queen still walks the orchard, but she is not the same. Not entirely. No one is. You have become part of the castle, not ghost, not memory, but rhythm. A note in the breath of stone, a shadow in the hum of things long buried. You do not need a name now. You are enough. You are echo. You are record. The mirror watches, and so do you. Sleep again, if you can, if the walls allow it, if the orchard is quiet, if the throne remains empty just a little longer. The night does not come suddenly anymore. It slides in sideways, through corners and cracks, through keyholes and loose slates in the roof. A slow and silent creeping that does not blot out the light but replaces it. The moon rises not above, but beneath you, reflected in puddles that should not exist, in polished floors that never shine, in the eyes of creatures too still to be alive. You do not ask questions now. Not because you fear the answers, but because you understand that answers are not what this place offers. Only reflections, only returns. You wake in the servants' quarters, but there are no other beds, no chests, no linens. Only dust and silence and the faint scent of iron. You dress in garments that are not yours, and yet they fit perfectly. You light a lantern. It burns without oil. You walk the halls. You do not know what you are looking for, only that you are meant to find it. The tapestries have grown. Their threads reach beyond their frames, like roots pressing into plaster. They move now. Not always. Not when watched. But always just after. You pass one that shows a banquet. Familiar faces. Joyous. Toasting. All of them gone now. Beneath the table, something crawls. You do not stop. The queen no longer leaves the orchard. The tree has changed again. Now black as coal, its bark slick with resin that pulses faintly blue. The fruit is back, but it does not fall. It watches. A noble woman arrives from the east. She speaks of alliances, of trade, of marriage. She demands audience. The steward grants it. She is shown to the orchard. She does not return. Her horse is found eating leaves from the mirror tree. Its eyes are violet. The castle prepares for winter, though no snow has fallen in years. The air grows colder. The hearths no longer warm. The walls no longer shelter. The rooms rearrange themselves. You find the kitchen where the library used to be. The chapel is missing. You find it underground, its altar cracked, its windows bleeding. The priest has vanished again. This time, no one replaces him. The queen still does not speak, but her voice is everywhere. In the creak of door hinges, in the groan of floorboards, in the sigh of the wind through empty towers. You hear her name in your dreams, though you cannot repeat it when you wake. The king's face has returned to the tapestry, but wrong. Too many eyes. A mouth stitched shut with golden thread. When you pass it, you feel watched. When you look away, the thread is gone. You find a scroll in the study, written in ink that glows faintly red. It details a ritual, a memory, a binding. The last line is written in your own hand, though you do not recall writing it. "I will remember," it says. The next day, the queen summons you. She sits beneath the mirror tree, her hands cupped around a flame that does not burn. She looks older, or younger, or both. Her eyes are closed. She opens them when you approach. "Do you know who you are?" she asks. You do not answer. You do not need to. She nods. It is almost time. You kneel, not by choice, by gravity. The tree shakes. Something falls. Not fruit, not ash. A name. Yours. Spoken in reverse. It lands in your mind and blooms into memory. The tower, the mirror, the scream, the silence. The queen stands. She offers you the flame. You take it. It is weightless. Cold. It seeps into your chest. and settles behind your heart. She steps back. The tree splits again. The mirror opens, not to a room, to a hall of doors. Thousands, endless. Each door bears a crown. Each lock your reflection. Find the right one, she says. Let it end. You step through. The castle disappears. The orchard becomes mist. The queen becomes echo. The mirror becomes sky. You walk. The hall stretches in all directions. The doors whisper. Some scream. You pass them. You do not open any. Not yet. You feel the flame guide you. Left. Forward. Right. A turn. A spiral. A descent. A climb. At last, a door that breathes. You know it, though you've never seen it. The wood is scarred, the crown upon it broken. You place your hand against it. It opens without sound. Inside, a room, empty. Familiar, a bed, a table, a mirror. Yourself. Not now. Not you. Younger. Smiling. Crying. Holding something. A crown. You remember. The coronation. The fire. The scream. The mirror. The flame pulses. The memory burns. You watch yourself fade. Not die. Fade. Like smoke. Like song. You step inside. The room vanishes. The hall dissolves. You are in the throne room again. The queen stands where you stood. The throne is full. You sit upon it, not in power. In burden. In memory. The castle sighs. The sky bends. The mirror is gone. The tree is ash. The orchard is stone. The queen kneels. It is done, she says, but it is not. Not truly. The castle remains. The walls remember. The doors remain closed, but not locked. The servants return. Their eyes are older, their voices softer. They do not speak of the time you were gone, but they know. The steward nods. The tapestries change. They show you now. Always watching. Always remembering. Always seated. The crown does not glow. It weeps. A single drop. Silver. Cold. The queen walks the halls. Alone. Always alone. You watch. You breathe. The castle moves again. Slowly. Patiently. The mirror returns. Not in glass. In dream. The sky sings. The stars align. And far below, beneath root and stone, beneath whisper and flame, something stirs. Waiting, watching, calling, sleep now. But not for long. The crown is heavy, and the doors have not all closed. Underneath the weight of the castle's silence, a new rhythm emerges, not music, not heartbeat, but a dull, steady throb. Like a drum buried deep beneath the stone foundation, beating in time with the pulse of the land itself. The castle remembers now, not in words or stories or chronicles, but in layers, in shifting halls, in doors that vanish and reappear depending on the hour. You wake in the throne again, though you do not recall sleeping. Your body does not ache, but your thoughts do. Heavy, sluggish, burdened with echoes. The steward approaches, not walking but gliding, his feet not quite touching the floor, his eyes unfocused but locked on you nonetheless. He does not speak, he bows. In his hands, a scroll, old, wrinkled, tied with thread that breathes slightly. Like a living vein, you take it, you do not open it. Not yet. There is a time for knowing, and a time for simply bearing. You rise. And the throne sighs, its wood cracking like old bone. The hall empties. The doors part. The castle rearranges itself to your steps. The orchard is no longer there. In its place, a field of statues. Hundreds, thousands. Some kneeling, some screaming. All turned toward the sky, mouths open, eyes hollow. At the center, where the mirror tree once stood, is a hole. Not large, but endless. A spiral descending into blackness too perfect to be shadow. You step toward it but do not look in. The queen is not there. She has not been seen for 3 cycles. The moon does not rise anymore. The sky remains locked in twilight, a bruise across the heavens. Time has become untrustworthy. The sun lingers too long or forgets to rise altogether. The servants speak less. Their hands twitch. Their teeth ache. The cook no longer uses fire. The food arrives cold but warm in memory. You eat and are nourished by the idea of warmth. In the chapel, the candles burn upside down, flame curling toward the ground, wax drifting into the air like smoke in reverse. A man stands at the altar, not the priest. Not anyone you've seen before. His robe is stitched from scrolls. His face is smooth. He speaks a name. Yours. But not your name now. The name you forgot. The name you lost in the orchard. You do not answer. He nods. He walks past you and is gone. The scroll you carry begins to hum. You open it. Inside, only a single phrase. The king is watching. Below it, your reflection. Drawn, detailed, crying. You close the scroll. The parchment fades to dust. The castle doors shut all at once. The sound is thunderous but silent. The air shifts. Something approaches. Not footsteps, not wind. Presence, pressure, like being stared at by something too large to be seen whole. You turn. The queen stands at the end of the hall. Her gown is stitched with stars. Her mouth is sewn shut. She holds a crown, not gold, not iron, bone, polished, gleaming. She walks to you and places it at your feet. She does not kneel. She does not speak. She watches. You pick it up. It hums. It sings. It screams. You place it on your head. The world turns inside out. For a moment, you are not yourself. You are every king who has ever worn the crown. You are the boy who vanished on the night of blood. You are the man who painted his dreams into the stone. You are the girl who walked into the orchard and became fog. You are the mirror. You are the scream. You are the root. You awaken in the tower. The mirror is before you, not open, not closed, waiting. The queen stands beside it, though she did not walk with you. You must choose again, she says. Her voice bleeds through her stitched lips. Not for yourself, for the castle. The mirror ripples. Images flash realities, possibilities, memories that might become futures. You see the king smiling. You see the throne empty. You see yourself dissolve. You see the castle buried. You reach forward. Your hand passes through the surface. You do not enter. You take, from the mirror, a key, ancient, shaped like a question mark, forged from dusk and bone. The queen nods. The doors beneath the chapel. You go. The stairs appear. They descend endlessly. And yet you arrive too soon. The door is there. It breathes. It leaks silence. You place the key into the lock. It opens. Behind it, the true throne, carved from roots and screams, suspended in a chamber lit by no light. Around it, 12 figures, shrouded, faceless. They bow. They speak. The king remembers. You approach. The crown hums louder. The figures raise their hands. The throne groans. You sit. The world stops. Not pauses. Stops. The air solidifies. The castle holds its breath. The queen kneels. The mirror shatters. The orchard blooms in reverse. The statues scream. The chapel melts. The tower bleeds. The true throne binds. You are locked to it. Not chained. Merged. Your voice becomes the walls. Your thoughts the bricks. You are the castle now. You do not breathe. You do not sleep. You are watched by those you used to watch. You are haunted by your own shadow. The crown tightens. The queen fades. She becomes root. The servants become dust. The steward is found weeping beneath the stairs, speaking names that never existed. You listen. You understand. You accept. Because you were always meant to be this. The king was never a person. The king was never a name. The king was the castle, and now so are you. The world outside forgets. The mountains shift. The rivers dry. The trees bow. But the castle remains, waiting, watching, Dream of the day someone else picks up the crown. Sleep, if you still know how. The door has closed. The mirror is gone. The throne has chosen. The silence deepens not because there is less to hear, but because the castle itself has decided that sound is no longer necessary. The footsteps of the servants do not echo anymore. The wind through the ramparts moves without song. Even the torches that flicker in hallways burn in a hush so profound it begins to feel alive. You are the castle now, and yet you still search its corridors as if they belong to someone else, as if you expect to turn a corner and find a version of yourself standing there, confused, whole, still crowned in ignorance. The throne beneath you breathes in rhythm with your thoughts. When you recall sorrow, the air grows heavy with rain. When you remember joy, the walls crack slightly, as if unsure how to accommodate it. There are fewer visitors now. The path to the castle is overgrown, the bridges swallowed by mist that seems to devour time. Still, on the 7th night after the moon reappears, a sickle of bone barely cutting the Duska rider arrives, hooded, cloaked in parchment that drips ink into the soil with every step of her horse. She says nothing when she enters, only offers you a mirror, not glass, not metal. Water held in the perfect stillness of a stone frame. Inside, you see not yourself but a door. Not one from this castle, not from this time. You recognize it and do not know why. She nods and vanishes. The mirror remains. You stare into it. The door does not open, it waits. The steward reappears on the 4th morning. His hair is gone. His eyes are white, his mouth sewn with golden thread. He holds a scroll sealed in blood. You do not open it. You burn it without flame. The ashes spell a name on the floor. It is not yours, but it belongs to you. The tapestry above the great hearth now depicts the orchard not as it was, but as it could have been. Filled with creatures bearing human faces and animal limbs, all worshipping the mirror tree. The fruit glows. The leaves whisper. You hear the words in your dreams. The king is watching. The king is always watching. You do not sleep now, not in the way others do. You drift, you recede. You settle into corners of the keep that no longer exist. The east tower folds into itself. The west wing elongates. The dungeons become infinite spirals that end in whispers. A child is born in the chapel. No one knows from whom. No one remembers the pregnancy. The child grows without aging, speaking in reverse, touching walls that ripple like water. You allow her to stay. She names herself twice. The mirrors around the castle begin to show things that have not happened. A war, a betrayal, a coronation of a king with no face. You turn them toward the walls. Still, their reflections bleed into the stone. The queen is seen walking along the ramparts again. She does not breathe. She does not blink. When approached, she scatters into birds made of parchment and ash. She reforms by morning. The cook prepares meals from ingredients no one remembers gathering. They taste of memory, of emotion, of grief. The guests, when they do come, cry without reason. They leave gifts at your door, a broken crown, a finger wrapped in lace, a story written in tears. You keep them all. The throne grows roots. They twist through the floor, down through the earth, seeking something buried. You do not stop them. You feel what they feel: cold, hunger, old laughter. The roots reach a chamber beneath the castle. One you did not build. A room made of bone and silence and heat that comes from no fire. Inside, a second throne, smaller, childlike, empty, you understand. Not in language, but in ache. The child will sit there one day. Not twice. Another, not born yet. Already dead. You return to your throne. The air is thicker. The stars shift. The castle turns slightly each dusk, as if aligning with something you cannot see. A bell tolls in the mirrorless tower. It has not done so in centuries. No one remembers what it means. You listen. You remember. It means the crown has cracked. You reach up. The bone has split down the center. From the wound, a light pours, cold, bright, alive. It does not burn. It reveals. You see the truth. Not of yourself, of the castle. It was never a place. It was a person, a man once, then a woman, then neither, then many. Now you are the latest mask. The steward is waiting outside. His thread mouth has unraveled. He sings, soft, broken. He says, "The wheel is near." You nod. The wheel does not turn. It returns. You must ride it again. You ask nothing. You prepare. The child, named twice, places her hand on your chest. Her eyes roll back. "It is not yet," she says, "but soon." You believe her. The sky bleeds violet. The stones hum in sorrow. The throne weeps. The walls buckle. The mirrors shatter into sand. And still, you remain, because you are the memory of the castle, and the memory does not die. It watches. It waits. It breathes in the silence of those who dare speak your name aloud. Sleep now. If the crown allows it, the castle no longer remembers the sun. Light here is a different thing entirely, neither warm nor illuminating, but quiet and watchful, like a breath held too long. It leaks through the stained glass in droplets rather than beams, and where it touches the stone, moss grows in the shape of words you do not understand. The throne is colder now, not with temperature, but with purpose. It holds you more tightly, like a hand that refuses to let go even after the fingers forget why they grasped. Each time you rise, the roots tug gently, reluctant, like a child in sleep. You whisper promises to it in a language you never learned. The throne softens. You walk the halls. The mirrors are gone, replaced with paintings that change slightly every night. A feast becomes a funeral. A wedding becomes a duel. A face becomes a void. You stop looking. The chapel bells ring at dusk, but no one hears them except twice. She counts the chimes aloud, her voice echoing off stone that drinks it like rain. She tells you that the number is never the same, and that the bells are not ringing from above, but below. The spiral under the chapel grows longer, deeper. The air changes as you descend, thickening into something you can chew. The walls weep salt. You pass old rooms you once knew, cellars, crypts, armories, but they have changed. Now they hold memories instead of tools. In one, a nobleman kneels before a shattered mirror, kissing his own reflection as it cuts his lips. In another, a girl dances in circles, holding a crown of fire, her laughter frozen in the air like icicles. None of them see you. They are not ghosts. They are ideas the castle has had and forgotten. You reach the bottom. The throne of bone remains empty. You sit beside it and feel it vibrating. Not with sound, but with intention. It is waiting, not for you, for the one after you. You place your hand upon its armrest, a voice hisses in your bones. Not yet. You nod. You ascend. The climb takes no time and all time. You emerge in the Queen's garden, though the orchard has long since crumbled. She stands there, draped in spider webs, holding a bowl filled with black sand. She offers it to you. You take it. Each grain whispers a different story. Some are lies. Some are warnings. Some are memories not yours. You pour them onto the ground. They form a map of the castle as it was, as it is, as it might become. You see a door that does not exist, hidden behind a wall that should have crumbled years ago. You go there. The wall recognizes you and steps aside. Behind it, a room filled with bones arranged like furniture, chairs of ribs, a table of spines, candles made from teeth. In the center, a mirror, not whole, fractured into 7 pieces, each hovering in the air. You see your face in each, but different. One version smiles, another cries, another bleeds, another burns, another begs, another is hollow. The last is simply gone. You do not touch them. You bow. They vanish. The room exhales. Behind you, the Queen stands. You have seen yourself, she says. Now see me. She removes her face. Beneath it, nothing. Not emptiness possibility. She hands you the mask. You hold it. It pulses in your grip. You place it against your chest. It sinks into your ribs. The world tilts. You stand in the throne room again. The steward kneels. The servants chant. The walls pulse. The throne hums. The crown tightens. A storm approaches, though no clouds mark the sky. The stars spiral faster. The child named twice begins to glow. Her shadow splits into three. One weeps. One dances. One watches. She walks to you, holding a stone. It is smooth and warm and old. She places it in your palm. This is the first lie, she says. You do not ask what it is. You know. You've carried it before. She disappears. The castle shutters its windows. The wind begins to speak. Names, dates, numbers, secrets. You remember them all. The doors of the castle open inward. Not physically, but emotionally. They accept you now fully. The stairwells no longer spiral. They breathe. You descend into them again. You pass rooms that are not rooms. A library of forgotten kings. A theater of remembered deaths. A fountain that drips blood upward. Each one whispers to you, asking for names, for purpose, for stories. You give them only silence. They reward you with peace. You reach the chamber of roots. It has grown, now vast, now endless. At its heart, a child sits upon the bone throne, not twice. Not anyone you know. The child looks at you and smiles. You are not him, he says, but you remember him. You nod. The child closes his eyes. The roots embrace him. The castle sighs. The queen weeps petals. The sky breaks into golden mist. The throne melts. The mirrors return. Only now they show the world as it is, not as it was or will be. The guests return, all of them wearing masks. Some yours, some hers, some their own. Tea. Hey, Beau, as they pass you. The castle begins to forget again. But you do not. You remember everything. Every stone. Every lie. Every breath. You are the archive. You are the burden. You are the king who was never a man. Sleep now, if you dare. The roots are listening. Underneath the weight of centuries and the dust of forgotten oaths, the castle shifts again. Not in stone or timber, but in spirit. It breathes differently now. A deeper inhale, as though it is preparing to speak for the first time in ages. You sit once more upon the throne, though it no longer feels like a seat, it feels like a spine growing out of the earth and into you. Each ridge along its length hums with memory, each pulse a forgotten name, each breath a war never fought. The windows no longer show the outside world. Instead, they offer glimpses into moments long sealed feasts, where no one ate, weddings where no one wed, coronations where the crown never touched a brow. You rise, and the floor bows in response. The queen is nowhere to be seen, though you sense her. She lingers now as scent and shadow, as lace caught on door frames, as words that fade before they're spoken. The child named twice sits in the library, rearranging the books by the sound of their size rather than their titles. Each book is alive. Each whisper is a truth too fragile for daylight. She hums as she works, a song you remember from a dream you did not survive. Outside, the orchard returns not as trees, but as hands reaching from the soil, holding fruits shaped like eyes, mouths, hearts. They blink when the wind touches them. You do not go there. Not yet. Instead, you walk the hallway of portraits. The faces are new, though the frames are old. One painting watches you. Another blinks. A third weeps blood that drips into a chalice mounted below. You drink from it. It tastes like shame and secrets, your own. You do not stop. In the western wing, the mirror hall shivers. Each pane now holds a version of you that made a different choice. In one, you fled. In another, you ruled with fire. In a third, you were never born. The versions begin to speak to one another, arguing, mocking, begging. You silence them with a word you've never heard. The mirrors crack, not from the center, but from the edges, like frost claiming glass. Behind the final mirror, you find a staircase spiraling upward, one that was never there before. You climb. With each step, your body changes. Your hands become older, your eyes younger, your breath slower. At the top, a room with no walls, only horizon. In the center, a pedestal. Upon it, a box sealed with skin and stitched with symbols that shift when you try to read them. You do not open it. You place your palm on top. It opens on its own. Inside, your face asleep. Beneath it, a letter written in your handwriting, though you have no memory of writing it. It reads, "Forgive me. I needed to forget in order to become." You burn the letter without fire. Your sleeping face melts into wax. You descend. The throne awaits, but now it is not alone. 12 chairs surround it, empty. They were not there before. You know what they are. The council, not of advisors, of past selves. The versions of you that did not survive. They arrive one by one, each from a different door, each wearing a different crown. They sit without sound. They nod to you. You speak your name, not the one you were given, but the one you earned. They echo it back. It becomes law. The castle tightens. The sky above twists. A new moon rises black, smooth and pulsing. The light it casts turns the rivers to ink. The birds sing in reverse. The mirrors reform. The child named twice offers you a blade. It is not sharp. It does not cut. It remembers. You take it and press it to your chest. Not to wound, but to mark. A new sigil appears glowing, pulsing, alive. The throne accepts it. You are bound deeper now. The queen returns at midnight. She is different. Her mouth is sewn again, but this time with thread of light. Her eyes are empty. She holds a heart, still beating, cradled like a babe. She places it in your lap. This was his, she says, though no sound escapes. You understand. The king before you. The one who failed. The one who broke the mirror. You place the heart beneath your throne. It beats in time with the walls. The castle begins to sing not music, not voice, but a long hum of knowing. The guests arrive again, dressed in time and crowned in grief. They bow. They do not speak. They do not eat. They only remember. That is enough. Sleep does not come, but rest does. A slow, aching stillness that feels like morning and peace braided together. You do not close your eyes. You do not need to. The castle dreams through you now. It speaks through you. It judges through you, and always it watches, as do you, forever. The rain that falls now does not wet the stone. It passes through the castle like a memory too faint to hold form. It does not drum or splash or fill the moat. It simply descends, endlessly, a silent curtain of something older than water. The castle receives it without resistance, as though it has always rained here, even in drought. You wake from a slumber you did not begin, seated in a room with no walls, only arches that curve toward nothing. Before you, a table of bone and glass stretches into the horizon. Upon it, a banquet prepared not with food, but with offering teeth wrapped in velvet. Scrolls written in veins, rings forged from regrets. The chairs around the table are full, not of people but presences. Shapes that shift, flicker, pulse. They do not look at you, they remember you. The steward stands behind you, mouth unstitched again, humming the tune twice once hummed. You do not turn, you do not need to. His presence is old enough now to feel like your own shadow. A chalice is passed down the line. When it reaches you, it is empty. You drink from it anyway. The taste is familiar fear pressed into silence. The child named twice enters through a wall, not walking but appearing, as if the castle exhaled her into being. She carries a single apple, dark as obsidian, bright as guilt. She places it on your lap and says, "When you eat this, you will no longer dream alone. You do not question. You do not hesitate. You do not chew." The apple dissolves like ash, and every room in the castle inhales at once. The windows blink. The portraits nod. The floor beneath your feet hums with the rhythm of a second heartbeat. One not yours. One not born yet. The orchard outside blooms in reverse. Leaves unfurl back into buds. Fruit shrinks into whispers. Roots pull themselves from soil. The sky above cracks slight not with thunder, but with memory. Through it pours not light, but sound, laughter, weeping, apologies, confessions. They rain down into the moat, which now ripples with stories rather than water. You leave the banquet. The table folds itself into mist. The guests vanish. Their chairs collapse into dust shaped like crowns. You walk through the North Hall, now longer than before, each step echoing in chords rather than percussion. Doors line the corridor, none labeled, all locked. Except one. It is not a door, but a frame. Inside, a field of flowers burning slowly, refusing to die. You step through. The flames do not consume. They teach. Each petal you touch reveals a moment from your life you had forgotten, a whisper from a friend, a betrayal that never came to pass, a choice you made without knowing it mattered. The field ends. The castle begins again. You are in the West Tower now, a place you never built. The walls here are soft. They remember being flesh. The windows are lungs. The furniture breathes. You find a cradle. Inside, a mask. Plain, wooden, old. You pick it up. It pulses. You place it over your face and see the world differently, not as it is, but as it mourns to be. The castle cries through your eyes. You return to the throne. The room bows in recognition. The crown hovers above your head, trembling. It has grown, twisted, gained teeth. You accept it. It does not rest upon your head. It becomes your skull. The guests do not return, only shadows. They dance in silence, waltzing through grief. The queen watches from the ceiling now, suspended in silk, wrapped in mourning. She drops a single strand, golden and wet. You touch it. It sears your skin with memory. Her memory. You see through her eyes the betrayal, the silence, the fire. You wake, not in the throne, in the orchard. Surrounded by hands that no longer reach, they pray now. To you, to the castle, to the crown. The child named twice sits upon your chest. Her face is your own. You are almost ready, she says, but not for the throne, for the forgetting. You ask what you must forget. She kisses your forehead. That you were ever not the castle. You close your eyes. The soil beneath you whispers. The sky above bends. The rain begins to fall upward. The mirrors rebuild themselves. The throne grows roots again. You breathe, and the world listens. The silence that has settled across the castle is no longer absent sight, is presence. Thick, alive, aware. It fills every corridor like fog that knows your name, clinging to the skin of the stone, curling around forgotten chandeliers and bleeding down staircases in velvet folds. You do not move through it. You are absorbed by it. The throne no longer calls to you, because you are never truly apart from it now. Whether you walk the spiral stairs of the tower, or trace your fingers across the frost-rimmed edges of the iron gates, a part of you remains seated in the Hall of Crowns, your pulse synced to the slow, echoing throb of the castle's foundation. In the deep West Hall, the ceiling has collapsed in a way that reveals not sky, but oceanian impossible dome of black water, where fish drift like memories and whales sing in languages you almost understand. The stars there blink behind currents instead of clouds. The child named twice tells you the ceiling was never made of stone. It just forgot, she whispers. It wanted to be sky, but it only remembered drowning. She hands you a feather shaped like a scream and tells you to bury it where the sun once rose. You do. And from that place, a tree grows overnight, but not from roots from memories. Each branch curls like a question. Each leaf is shaped like a forgotten face. You do not recognize them all, but they recognize you. They whisper. You listen. They tell stories of the kings before you, the ones who wore the crown before it became a part of the skull, the ones who believed the throne was a place rather than a process. One carved an entire wing from marble just to house his own name. Another replaced the servants with statues that bled wine when wounded. A third painted every wall with his reflection, then cursed the mirrors for not recognizing him. You are not them, but you are made of them. Their ashes form the mortar that holds your bones in place. The steward nods when you pass, though his eyes are now jars filled with ink and time. He sees differently now. The queen no longer walks. She floats, draped in moths, her mouth sewn closed once more. But her gestures speak louder than words. She draws a line across her throat each time you look into a mirror. She is warning you, not of danger, of recognition. One night, or perhaps day, those words are meaningless now. You descend into the room of breath, a chamber filled with lungs, hung like tapestries, pulsing softly. They breathe not air, but emotion, grief, regret, longing. You add your own. The room expands to accommodate it. You are told that every king must leave a part of himself behind. You leave your name. You do not remember it as you turn to leave. The child named Twice stands at the door. She is taller now. Her shadow stretches behind her and bends into letters you cannot read. The roots have reached the end, she says. It is time. You follow her through a door made of memory. Behind it, a garden that grows only at night. The flowers bloom when no one sees. Their petals shaped like locks, their stems bent like spines. The air is sweet with secrets. She walks to the center where the fountain stands. It does not hold water. It holds time, a pool of moments, glimpses, echoes. You see yourself, but not as you are, as you were, as you feared to become, as you might have been. Each version carries the crown differently. One cradles it like a wound. Another wears it like armor. A third throws it into the fountain, only for it to rise again, clean and cold. You place your hand in the pool. It accepts you. You are flooded with laughter, with screams, with everything between. The queen is beside you now. Her mouth open. No thread, no sound, just a smile shaped like surrender. You ask what you have become. She answers with silence that shakes the ground. The fountain overflows. The roots tear through the soil, lifting the garden into the air. The sky turns inside out. The stars pulse. The throne dissolves. And still, you remain. Because you are not the king anymore. You are the crown, and the crown never forgets. It only waits. The castle remembers what the world has chosen to forget. Beneath every stone lies a tongue bitten off in silence. Beneath every window, a vow carved too deeply to fade. The walls have shifted again, not in architecture, but in meaning. Corridors you once knew now lead not to rooms, but to memories disguised as chambers. You walk not to arrive, but to recall. The crown upon your head has become lighter, but only because it has grown inside you. It no longer rests, it pulses. With each beat, it draws you further inward, deeper into the spine of the structure. The throne is no longer a place. It is a breath, a rhythm, a waiting. You do not sit anymore. You inhabit. The queen appears now only in reflections not yours, not hers, but someone in between. You catch her in puddles, in polished stone, in the curve of a chalice. Her eyes are empty, but not dead. They are filled with knowing, with sacrifice, with memory. She reaches for you in reverse, and when you extend your hand, you find your own fingers wrapped in silk. The child named Twice does not walk anymore. She glides through dreams you never knew were yours. She sings in forgotten tongues, and the castle responds with low groans that shake the paintings from their nails. The guests have returned again, but their masks are fused to their faces now, expressions frozen in ecstasy, or terror, or both. They do not speak. They gather in the grand hall not to feast but to watch. You are their entertainment, their offering, their story. In the western tower, a bell tolls once. You have never heard it before. Its sound makes the walls peel, makes the candles turn to glass, makes your shadow kneel. You follow the sound, but it leads you not up, but down, below the crypts, below the roots, into a chamber carved from teeth. Its walls are lined with portraits, but all of them are you, at different ages, in different bodies, wearing different sins. You do not weep, you nod. The bell tolls again. A figure stands in the center of the room. It wears a mirror for a face and holds a scepter made from broken promises. It does not speak, but you understand. This is the king who could have been, the one you denied, the one who bled so you could reign. You kneel. He raises the scepter, taps your crown, and vanishes into dust that tastes like regret. The room collapses, not violently, but with dignity. You are back in the throne hall. It is empty, not abandoned, cleansed. The walls breathe slower. The stone exhales relief. You understand now. The castle was never cursed. It was grieving. For the kings it had to house. For the queens it could not save. For the children born into memory. You walk to the mirror that stands behind the throne. It is larger now, curved like a crescent moon, shimmering with moments. You step into it, not through, into. Inside, the world is quieter, softer. Each step leaves behind a phrase. You are not alone. The crown does not forget. History is a wound that grows teeth. You reach the center, a pool, black as mourning, still as guilt. You kneel. You drink. It tastes like your mother's voice, like a prayer whispered before sleep, like the first time you lied and knew it would never be undone. You wake not in the castle, but in its memory. A replica, a dream, a rehearsal. Everything is softer here. The walls hum lullabies. The throne is made of wood, not bone. The guests smile with real mouths. The queen dances in the orchard. The child named twice is nowhere. You stay there for a while, long enough to forget the hum of stone, the chill of truth, the weight of the crown. But not forever. A knock comes at the door, gentle, 3 times. Then silence. When you answer it, you see yourself, wearing a crown made of fireflies, eyes full of forgiveness. It's time, you say. You nod. You wake. For real. Back in the castle. Alone. The silence greets you like an old friend. You place your hands on the arms of the throne. They sink in. Not trapped. Embraced. The guests return. Their masks gone. Their face is yours. They bow, not in reverence, but in recognition. The castle smiles. You do not. You do not need to. The candles have burned so long that their wax has formed rivers along the flagstones, winding tributaries of silence that harden with every breath. You do not remember lighting them. You do not remember when they began, but you know they will outlast you. In the castle, time has softened at the edges. It no longer flows, it gathers, pools in corners, slips through doorways, clings to fabric and footsteps like damp. You move through it as one would through fog, each motion a negotiation between what was and what remains. The throne is no longer a place you approach. It finds you wherever you are, folding the world around your spine until you feel its weight, even when standing. You wear the crown now the way one wears memory, uneasily, invisibly, inescapably. The queen has stopped appearing altogether, but her scent lingers rosewater and ash, sorrow steeped in salt. She is not gone. She has simply become the castle. Her laughter is the creak of doors. Her weeping is the frost on the northern windows. Her rage lives in the cracks of the mirror behind the throne. The child named twice does not speak anymore. She writes in dust, in cobweb, in the condensation on the window panes. Her messages arrive backwards, as if addressed to a future version of you who will one day forget how to read. In the garden of locks, the trees have bent low, heavy with the burden of unspoken choices. Their branches curl toward the earth, whispering prayers in languages only soil understands. You pick a single leaf and place it in your mouth. It tastes like hesitation and childhood. In the Tower of Bells, a new chime is heard, not iron, not bronze, but bone. It rings with a note that pierces the marrow, soft and unrelenting. It summons nothing. It remembers everything. You climb the tower, but with every step, the staircase forgets the one behind it. When you reach the top, there is no way down, only the wind, only the sky, only a single page caught in the rafters, trembling like a confession. You take it. It reads, "You are the echo of a crown that once knew kindness. You fold it into a crown and place it beside the real one. For a moment, the weight lessens. Not gone, just shared. In the eastern wing, the hall of portraits has begun to breathe. The paintings shift when unobserved. Faces turn. Eyes close. Mouths open in screams that never leave the canvas. You stop looking. You walk the hall with eyes closed, guided only by the tremor of memory beneath your feet. Somewhere below, in the oubliette that was never truly empty, the bones have arranged themselves into a staircase. They lead nowhere. They lead inward. You descend. The silence there is thick enough to chew. It clings to your lungs. It speaks in pressure rather than sound. At the bottom, you find a cradle. Not for a child, but for a choice. Inside, a single ring, too large for your finger, too small for your head. It fits only your heart. You place it there. It tightens, then dissolves. You forget your name again. You do not mourn it. The castle remembers it for you. Outside, the sky has turned a deeper shade of forgetting. Stars fall, not as light, but as letters. They land on the parapets, on the graves, on your shoulders. They spell nothing. They spell everything. You write them in the margins of your breath. You carve them into the silence between footsteps. You wear them as scars. The guests arrive again. This time with faces you recognize: friends, lovers, enemies, yourself. They take their seats at the table shaped like time. They do not eat. They remember. Each course is a moment, a touch, a wound, a lie, a promise broken before it was spoken. You do not join them. You walk the hall behind the throne, where the walls are stitched with hair and ink. You press your palm against the tapestry. It throbs. It opens. Inside, a corridor made of heartbeat and fog. The child named twice waits there. She offers you a candle made from your last breath. You take it. It does not burn. It remembers. You walk. The air here is made of lullabies and last words. You pass rooms that echo with what you could have been: a father, a tyrant, a savior, a silence. Each door leads to a version of yourself that chose differently. You do not open them. You nod in passing. They nod back. At the corridor's end stands a mirror. You look. You see not yourself, but the first king. His crown is made of silence, his throne, regret. He raises a hand, so do you. You do not meet. You become. The glass does not shatter. It exhales. You step through. You are back in the throne room, but the walls have grown closer, not to trap but to hold. You are not the ruler here. You are the memory it protects, the legacy it dares not release. You sit. The room breathes with you. Somewhere below, the bells ring again, one for each sin you chose not to forget. And still, the castle stands. Because you do. The throne no longer waits for you because you are never far from it. Even when wandering the deepest cellars or the coldest turrets where frost speaks in the dialect of bones, the castle knows where you are, even before you do. Its memory is not chronological. It folds. It breathes. It burrows. What happened 100 years ago is happening now, and what you will do tomorrow has already stained the walls. In the garden where no light reaches, the roots are glowing. Not from magic or moonlight, but from pain. Every decision you buried there has begun to sprout into something unrecognizable. The vines curl into shapes resembling hands. They reach, not for air, not for freedom, but for acknowledgement. You walk among them barefoot. The soil accepts you, warm and pulsing. Each step sinks deeper, not with weight, but with history. The child named twice walks beside you, holding a book with no title. It is bound in mirrors. When she opens it, you do not see words. You see eyes. Hundreds. Blinking, watching, waiting. They do not judge. They remember. You turn the pages. Each one reflects a room you thought forgotten. The hall where you lied and were believed, the balcony where you promised and did not return, the corridor where someone waited for you too long and became silence. You close the book. It hums. The queen now exists only in the tilt of portraits and the faintest pressure behind closed doors. Her presence is neither ghost nor god, but something slower, deeper, carved into the stone like veins through marble. She speaks now only through hunger, not Yorkshire's. You feed her with attention, with hesitation, with each moment you hesitate before taking another step. In the tower where the stars used to live, the telescope no longer points outward. It curves. It bends. It peers into the past you have shed like a skin. Through it you see yourself at age 5, hiding from your own shadow. At age 10, building walls from books and breaking them with questions. At age 17, kneeling before a grave that did not hold a body. The images distort, and the telescope cracks. Not from force, from knowing. You descend, slowly, every step leaving behind a memory that no longer fits. At the bottom, the door is gone, replaced by breath. It exhales once, and you pass through. Back in the Hall of Statues, the faces have begun to melt. The features blur into emotion. Joy collapses into dread. Rage softens into grief. You pass your own effigy and do not stop. You know it no longer matches. The crown it bears is wrong. Smaller, lighter, simpler. You approach the Chamber of Whispers, a place the guests never enter. The air is thick, with sentences never finished. If only you had. I meant to say, would you forgive me? If. They loop endlessly, brushing your skin like moth wings dipped in sorrow. You lie down on the floor. It is not stone. It is made of letters, woven into confession. You close your eyes. The ceiling drops lower. The room breathes in. You disappear. You wake in the orchard. The fruit is black now, pulsing slightly. You pick one. It murmurs. You bite. Inside, a voice you had forgotten. Yours. Younger. Hopeful. Asking for love. The bite burns your tongue. You swallow anyway. The pain roots itself in your spine. You do not fall. You stand straighter. In the mirror corridor, the walls have become water. Each reflection swims. They do not mimic you. They question you. One asks, "Why did you stay?" Another asks, "Why did you return?" The last one says nothing but weeps. You reach out. The surface breaks. Your hand comes back older, more worn, but steadier. You wrap the cloak of the forgotten around your shoulders and proceed to the gate of endings. It opens inward. Inside, only a chair. No throne, no light, no judgment. Just a place to sit and remember nothing. You sit, and you forget. For 1 hour, 1 century, 1 blink. Then the steward finds you, his eyes now stars, his mouth stitched with gold. He bows, you rise, and the chair becomes a throne again. You are no longer tired. You are no longer hopeful. You are still. The castle breathes through you now. The walls twitch with your thoughts. The windows fog with your dreams. Outside, the wind carries your name, but in a language no longer spoken. You are not lost. You are the map. You are not the king. You are the memory the king leaves behind. The castle begins to close its eyes. Not in sleep, but in retreat. The windows dim as though embarrassed by what they've witnessed. The tapestries curl inward like fingers, wrapping secrets tighter than ever before. You walk its halls now not as ruler or captive, but as someone being slowly remembered by the stones. The walls murmur not with ghosts, but with routines. The way the queen used to step exactly twice between sentences. The clink of a cup that was never filled. The hush before a scream that never came. You begin to forget what language is, and instead learn the grammar of echo, the punctuation of footsteps, the verbs that live in dust. The crown does not rest on your head anymore. It has moved lower, into your chest, where it feeds off breath and doubt. The guests no longer arrive in carriages. They rise from the earth like steam, half-formed, wearing masks of decisions not yet made. They bow as if to ask you a question you have never dared to answer. You do not respond. Your silence is the only reply the castle allows now. You descend again, this time not by stare, but by gravity of thought. The deeper you think, the lower the floor becomes. You find yourself in a room that existed before the rest of the structure. A room built from promise. Its walls are made of maybe. Its ceiling is stitched from if. In the center is a cradle made of regret. It rocks itself, gently, endlessly. You reach toward it and see your hand become younger. Not physically, you still wear the age in your bones, but emotionally, as if the air has peeled off the years of compromise. In that moment, the queen returns, not as person, not as memory, but as shadow. She fills the corners of the cradle with warmth. The rocking stops. The child named twice stands behind you. She is older than the castle now. She places her hand on your back and the world freezes. No sound, no motion, only awareness. You feel everything, every lie you swallowed, every touch you denied, every time you chose the throne over the human. It crashes over you, not as punishment, but as clarity. You do not fall. You do not cry. You simply breathe. And the castle exhales with why. Ooh. In the dining hall, the table has become a spine. The plates, vertebrae, the cutlery, ribs. No one eats. They absorb. Every bite is a memory. Every sip is a confession. The guests are now mirrors. They do not reflect you, but your impact. Each shows a version of someone who knew you, servant who died alone, a jester who sang until his voice became ash, a prince who touched your hand once and never recovered. You nod to each, not in apology, but in acknowledgement. You cannot undo what the crown required, but you can remember. The garden has withered, not dead, changed. The flowers now bloom inward, curling into themselves like secrets. You sit among them, and they whisper what they have learned. That beauty is grief in slow motion. That thorns grow only where touch was once welcome. That soil never forgets the weight of footsteps. The moon no longer rises. It hovers just beyond the clouds, uncertain of its own orbit. The stars blink out, one by one, not from distance, but from disinterest. The sky has tired of watching, you understand. You do not look up anymore. You look within. The throne room is quiet. The torches burn with a cold flame, blue and slow. The banners fall not with sound, but with finality. You walk its length, counting each step like a sentence. The steward waits at the base of the throne. He holds out a key. You do not ask what it opens. You know it opens the end. Not of the castle, not of you, but of the illusion that either ever began. You take the key and press it to your own chest. There is no wound, only release. The crown sighs. You sit. The throne does not embrace. It accepts. You are no longer separate. You are the final chapter in a story written backward. The guests fade. The walls still. The wind pauses. You close your eyes, and the castle dreams you into permanence. The castle is quieter now than it has ever been, not from absence, but from acceptance. It does not creak with memory, nor groan with ghosts. It hums softly, like an old song forgotten by the mouth but not the bones. You rise from the throne not because duty calls, but because stillness has become unbearable. The weight of all you did not say presses against your ribs like a second cage, and motion becomes the only way to breathe. You walk the inner corridors, where no maps led paths that coil inward like thought, rooms that vanish when named. The stones here are softer, smoother, worn by the tread of choices that were made too late. On the walls hang tapestries you have never seen before. They depict not events, but emotion spheres stitched in grays, jealousy in green flame, guilt rendered in threads so fine they vanish when touched. In the corner, a single tapestry unravels itself, as if ashamed of being remembered. You do not stop it. Some stories beg to be undone. Outside, the orchard has become a forest. The trees grow fast now, their trunks splitting with urgency, branches clawing at the fog as if desperate to touch the past. The fruit has turned transparent. Inside each one is a face, floating, sleeping. You dare not pluck them. You dare not wake them. In the chapel of echoes, the windows no longer hold stained glass. They are mirrors now, tall and aching. Each one shows a version of you kneeling young, aged, bleeding, crowned, laughing, alone. They chant your name in rhythms unfamiliar. The sound vibrates in your chest, rearranging your heartbeat into new syntax. You understand nothing. And that, finally, is peace. In the northern wing, the doors have melted. They droop like exhausted mouths, unable to ask for anything more. You step over the thresholds, not through them, entering rooms made of regret so thick the walls weep. Each room is an apology you never gave. The air is sharp, breathing cuts. Still, you stay. You run your fingers along furniture you never owned. You sit in chairs that remember someone kinder. In the final room, a cradle, again this one empty, untouched. You place your hand on its edge, and it rocks once, slow and heavy. A lullaby rises from the cracks in the floor. It is in your mother's voice, but it sings not to you two the crown. It asks it to sleep. The crown trembles, but it does not sleep. Not yet. Back in the Great Hall, the feast table has become a timeline. Every goblet, a year, every plate, a loss. You walk its length, and with each step, the cutlery turns to ash. Time dissolves at your heel. The guests no longer appear. They have moved inward, taken root in the furniture, in the flame, in the pause between your thoughts. They speak through absence now. Every empty chair is a question, every cleared plate, a sigh. The queen's presence thickens like dusk. She fills the folds of your cloak. She settles behind your teeth. When you speak, it is her voice that finishes the sentence. You do not resist. You never did. In the attic where the dolls were kept, they have awakened, not with malice, but with memory. Each one holds a shard of your pasta whisper, a wound, a wish. You plow, seath them in a circle, and sit among them. They do not judge. They nod, wooden and weary. You feel something loosen in your chest. Not grief, not forgiveness, just space. Enough to breathe differently. The mirror behind the throne has shattered, not from force, from readiness. The pieces lay like sleeping stars, waiting to be rearranged. You do not try. You lie beside them. You reflect nothing, and yet you feel seen. The sky above the castle has folded in on itself. The stars now blink from within the soil. Light has inverted. The moon is a memory now, recalled only in lullabies and water. The castle does not need it anymore. Its light comes from within, from you. The walls glow faintly with your sighs. The floors warm with your pulse. In the final corridor, the steward walks ahead. His robe trails like a sentence never ended. He leads you to a chamber with no walls, no floor, no ceiling. Only sound. It is filled with everything you never said. The laughter you swallowed, the love you hid, the rage you redirected into rule. It echoes in loops, overlapping, forming harmonies that ache. You listen, you remember. You weep not from sorrow, but from relief. This, finally, is all of you. Unmasked, unmourned, unbroken. When you leave, the castle shifts. Just slightly. Enough for one stone to move. Beneath it, a name you do not recognize. You touch it, and the crown trembles. For the first time in centuries, you feel its sleep. Not for the body, for the burden. You are almost there. One more breath, one more silence, one more truth. The final door does not open. It exhales. Its surface ripples, like water remembering how to be still. You place your hand against it, not to push, but to be known. The wood is warm, not from fire, but from all the palms that have pressed here before you. Kings who kneeled, queens who wept, children who dared not knock. It is not a door. It is a threshold of memory too full to hold itself, and so it parts not outward, not inward, but inward still. You step through. There is no room beyond, only the sensation of arrival. The floor is not stone, but pulse. The air does not breathe, but listens. You are inside the heart of the castle now, not its architecture, but its ache. Here, nothing is built. Everything is remembered. You feel the moments stir around you first kiss under tapestried eaves. First betrayal in a silver-drenched hallway. The sound of your own voice saying, "I am ready," when you were not. The crown is gone. You do not know when it left. Perhaps it never was. Perhaps it was always you. You do not miss it. You do not need it. In this place, nothing rests on your head. Everything rests beneath your ribs. The steward is here, and yet he isn't. His form fades between glances, becoming more gesture than figure. He bows, not in service, but in recognition. You have arrived, he does not say, but you understand. You bow in return, not in humility, but in peace. The throne appears. It was not there, it never was. But now it is. It is not grand, not cold. It is a chair carved from promises kept. The wood bears fingerprints, yours, others, all. You approach. You do not sit. You simply place your hand on the armrest. It sings, not with voice, with stillness, with yes. You close your eyes. The castle slows. The windows blink slower. The torches dim, not from exhaustion, but from contentment. The hallways straighten their backs. The stones hum lullabies in a language older than grief. You walk again, not to go anywhere, but to remind the world you are still moving. The orchard has bloomed again, this time inwards. The trees lean toward each other, whispering forgiveness. The fruit no longer speaks. It rests. In the portrait hall, all the faces smile now. Not joy, not relief, just softness. They have watched long enough. You thank them, you leave. In the room of bells, one final chime sounds, not bone, not bronze, but breath. It marks not time, it marks trust. You follow its echo to the rooftop, where the sky has folded into fabric. It wraps the world like a blanket, warm and endless. You lie down. The tiles embrace your spine. The wind does not move. It listens. And from the soil below, something rises. Not a hand, not a figure, a memory, fully formed. She is not the queen. She is not the child. She is you. Before, after, always. She sits beside you, takes your hand, says nothing, and together you breathe. The stars return, shy and flickering. They do not arrange into constellations. They scatter, like thoughts half remembered. You trace one with your fingertip. It stays. It stays. The final moment is not grand. It is not loud. It is not triumphant. It is simply this: a long exhale, a closing of eyes, a softening of shoulders, the knowledge that nothing needs to be held anymore. You let go. The throne vanishes. The steward becomes light. The castle becomes story. And you become quiet. You become the silence that follows a truth well told. The sleep that comes after centuries of waiting. The echo of a life remembered, not for its reign, but for its release. The guests are gone. The halls are still. The bells are mute. And above it all, the sky breathes your name one final time, softly, gently, as if to say, you can rest now. And so you do.